What's going on, everybody? We're going to talk about a belt today and what goes into a belt, and one that you should probably take a look at if you're looking at buying a new belt, whether it's for dress or whether it's for concealed carry or something like that. Because really, I don't think a lot of people sit there and ask themselves what goes into a belt. There's a couple things you should really be looking for. One is rigidity. How rigid is it? Is it too rigid? Is it too thick? Is it going to be comfortable? Is it going to be uncomfortable? And there's like a happy median in there. We probably don't all want to run around wearing tactical belts all day, especially if you're wearing dress clothes or something. You're going to want something that either maybe can be used in both scenarios or, one or the other, depending on what you wear to work every day. Some of you guys out there are office people and you're carrying all day long. Some of you guys out there just running around in jeans and a t-shirt, you still need a good quality belt. The last thing you want to do is be running around with a holster just jammed in your pants with no real kind of rigid belt or loop or anything to hold that holster or your gun in place. Because let's just face it, you could be carrying anything from like this Glock 43 in this holster right here. And some of us are going to be carrying everything up to and including something like this Sidekick with a Glock 45 and a spare mag on it. Now this is one from Gerber. This thing is absolutely awesome, this holster. Got a review on this coming soon. Really, really like that thing. But we really need to think about how do we wear these things on a daily basis. And there's a couple different kinds of belts out there. You've got your full-on like battle belt, tactical belt type stuff. Most of us are probably not going to be using those unless it's for competition or range or law enforcement or military use. And those are definitely great options for those scenarios. But the vast majority of us, myself included, that carry something everywhere, we need a belt that kind of fits that everyday lifestyle. There's a couple different designs out there. You have like a regular belt that you buy like at any store. Those generally suck pretty bad to wear as gun belts for any length of time, just because they're not very rigid. They bow, the little parts of the belt where the locking mechanisms go through stretch over time, and you just end up buying belt after belt after belt. Now I know price isn't a big thing for a lot of people out there, so spending 60, 70 bucks on a belt may be a little bit expensive for you, but it's kind of one of those buy once, cry once type things, as long as you're buying something that's quality. But there's a lot of good belts out there, and I've been a huge fan of a couple of different ones, and I've got reviews on them, and I will link them all down below. And eventually I'm going to do kind of a comparison between all of them after I've been wearing all of them for around the same period of time, that I feel that I've got enough time in them and enough time carrying them that I can give you guys a really honest review on them. But the one I'm talking about specifically today, or the brand, is Core Essentials. And I know there's been reviews on these before, and this is kind of a newer design from them. This is the X5 buckle right here. And this is actually a pretty dang good belt. And I got this one in gray just because gray is the color that I like to wear a lot. But this is kind of a belt where this one, I looked at it, and it can kind of go both ways on this one. And by both ways, guys, I mean it can be worn with casual dress clothes. It can be worn with jeans and a t-shirt. It's nothing that looks overly tactical. It's a pretty benign looking belt, and it's pretty good because I had some kind of concerns when I first started seeing Core Essential belts and some other belts that kind of have a mechanism like this and a locking mechanism for the buckle like this. And we're going to go over all that up close. But I've come to find out after wearing these and using them, these are pretty much everything that they claim to be. It's a pretty dang cool design. And I'm liking it a lot because it's very simple to wear, very easy, very, very rigid, good stuff here. And it seems like it's going to last a long time. Now, I've had this one for a couple months now, and I've been wearing it with both dress clothes, and I've been wearing it with other clothes, and it's just working out really great. Now, they did send me this belt and this one for free to check out. So the reason I wanted to grab two of them is because I wanted one of their kind of leather dress style belts as well. And that's what I got this one for. So you guys can see that buckle on there. It's a really nice, kind of casual, even wear it with a suit type buckle, and it's not nearly as thick as the gun belt style one, but I still found this belt to be very rigid, but not uncomfortable when it comes to wearing those thinner dress pants or anything. And it worked really well, especially when concealing it with something like my Glock 43, my 43X, or even a Glock 19. Now, obviously, I didn't want to wear this with an appendix rig because of the buckle, and I was wearing dress clothes. So I was kind of wearing it more in that 3 to 4 o'clock position, and I found it to be really comfortable. Now, one of the things you really need to look out for when you're buying a belt is stretch, and that is where belts from like your regular clothing stores really kind of fail. Those belts are meant to be really loose and floppy and mold and just kind of be real comfortable to wear. And I didn't find either of these belts to be uncomfortable, but they are definitely more rigid, and they are not quite as thick as some like store-bought belts that I've seen, but they are thick enough, and they have the webbing on the outside and then an internal really rigid part on the gun belt here. But it was still comfortable, and then you get to kind of size it to your liking, whereas one that's kind of bought off the shelf, sometimes it runs big, sometimes it runs small, and you only get one hole every so often. Whereas these belts are both kind of infinitely adjustable, and that's a pretty cool design. So we're gonna go ahead and check these things out, get into these up close, and I really wanna show you guys kind of how they work, how I use them, how I measured them, how I cut them, because I cut them a little long at first, and then I'm kind of shortening them because I wanted to, one, make sure that I didn't cut too much, because you can't really add material. It's right, measure twice, cut once, or cut long and cut twice. But I really wanted to see if there was going to be any stretch. I wanted to see if there was going to be any issues with the clamping mechanism that keeps the belt in there. And I haven't found any. So we're going to go ahead and check these out up close right now. All right, so what's in a belt? What's in a belt? Let's tackle this dress belt first. Just kind of take a look at it. You guys can see it's got that really nice kind of subdued, almost black to gray kind of buckle on there. And really clean looking, really good looking. You can kind of see the thickness of it right there. Here's like a standard kind of tactical pen like that, or here's my finger right there. So the buckle mechanism and all that is not that thick at all. There are some that are far thicker. And this is your activation tab right here for that infinite locking mechanism system. Now the way that these work, I'll just show you on this one, is built into the end of it down here. You've got those ridges, and that's what actually locks in and gives you your tightness and tension and everything. And it locks in on that tooth right there that you can see moving up and down with that little spring-loaded mechanism. So it's a pretty cool design because, like I said, you go for lunch on the office and you eat yourself a large pizza out at lunch. You might need to expand that belt a little bit, and you sit back down on the desk after you give it a loosening or two. But it's also nice because gives you the option to really kind of get it to whatever tightness you want when you're carrying. So a couple different things to always pay attention to is what you're carrying. So say you're carrying something like, this 43 inside the waistband. It's got a single clip design on here. Once you get this around the belt like that, you can see it is a really good fit down in there on that belt. Some clips are a little bit tighter than others, I feel, and then some belts are just a tad bit wider than others. But this is a nice clean fit. You don't want it so tight that you can't lock it in, because there is that little edge right there that kind of comes back. I'll show you that a little better. A good buckle is going to have that little edge right there that kind of comes back into the belt and locks into it rather than just a flat one. Now that infinite adjustment system really allows you to kind of tension that belt when you're wearing this, when you're not wearing it, and get it really just kind of where you want it and fine tune it, which is kind of nice because a lot of belts just have, a hole here, and they're like an inch apart. Well, that may not work for you. And then these are just probably going to last, well, not probably, these are going to last far longer than regular belts. So let's go ahead and take a look at the actual belt here that's meant for carry use or inside the waistband carry, or even like a tactical style belt. So let's look at the thickness right here. So not overly thick. I was kind of surprised by how thin it actually was on that edge right there. So it's like a nylon material sewn into their, really rigid backing. Same infinite adjustment system right there. And then it's got, a subdued buckle, and this is their X5. Pretty cool. I actually like the look of this quite a bit. And then you get a Velcro retention strap for the leading edge of the belt. Now, how this actually works with the buckle. This is, if you were in the military anywhere in the 90s, early 2000s, when you first went to basic training, you got one of those crappy belts you had to wear that had the teeth that you bent back over the buckle in, and it sucked, right? It never worked. So Core Essentials really beefed up what they do. You've got 2 set screws, comes with an Allen key. And all you do is you cut this belt to length, and you can see it is marked, every inch. So you kind of have a good point. I always say start long because it's easier to cut more. You can't really add material, guys, right? So what you do is you cut it to the length you want or you think you want. I would go longer first. And then this tab right here will be up. You push the belt all the way to the end, press that down, and you do your set screws right there. You don't need to use Loctite. Once you get it finally adjusted, you could use blue if you wanted to. I would not use red Loctite on this, guys. Use something that is going to give you the ability to refit, because if you cut it too long, you might need to cut it down. This one, I cut a little bit too long. So for me, I found it's pretty close to waist size, but I didn't want to take the chance, so I left myself extra room in here in case you know, I needed to cut it down. But the ability to be able to size this yourself, so say you've either, you know, lost a little bit of weight, okay, you can cut this thing down. But the infinite adjustment system, if you've gained a little bit of weight, look at all that adjustment. That's like a foot of adjustability right there. So you've got a lot to work with. And you can see, show you that mechanism and how it works in here, just how it works once you get to the actual locking portion right there. And you can hear it audibly clicking, locks in, and those ridges are angular. So you can kind of see how they angle like that. And I'm telling you, you can put some serious tension on there and it does not slip or move. And then if you either need to loosen it up, give it a push, or take it all the way apart. So it's a really cool belt, very sturdy. The buckle is very, very sturdy, very nice. I like the look of it a lot. You can see back in there, you can see that spring. It's actually pretty dang large. It looks like a very nice beefed up spring back in there. So I don't see this belt having any problems. I've been wearing it every day for close to 2 months now or something like that. And it's just been a solid setup. All the concerns I had with with the rigidity of it, of the core belt, and the concerns I had with the infinite adjustment and the retention portion back here are completely subsided. So I really think it is a great belt. Now let's talk about the buckle and carrying like an appendix rig. So some people out there, or a lot of people out there, like to carry an appendix rig like this. So the thing with belts is you're widening that area right here. So you can kind of see how that fits in there. Even if I put this around, you know, you skinnier guys may be able to get away with wearing, you know, bigger buckles or something like that. But you have to remember that as you wear an appendix rig like this, you're going to push the buckle out just a little bit. So probably, you know, maybe not the best appendix rig belt. It may print a little bit more, although, you know, just depending on where you kind of ride your appendix rig, this is where I would typically ride it. So if the buckle was dead center in front of me, this is where I would keep my belt, because I keep my appendix rigs just slightly off to my strong side, and I find that's just the most comfortable for me. I don't want them dead center. So for me, my belly button was directly above this. This is how I would ride it. So you're not going to have a huge protrusion. Some other belts, the buckles come way, way out. And that's going to have, you know, some things to do with body type. And then what a lot of people do to alleviate that is they just ride the buckle off to one side or the other. That's completely up to you guys. But as you can see, very, very nice setup. Fits very, very nice. Looks very good. And overall, just a heck of a quality product. So, you know, they've got my vote when it comes to belts if you're in the market. So we'll go ahead and get back up in front here and we'll finish this up. So I found both of these belts just to be very nice. You know, I've got several others. I've got my Blue Alpha Cobra belts, which I absolutely love. I have the Bravo Concealment Cinturon belt, which is a good belt too. But these belts just offer something a little bit more. And the Blue Alpha one, that's kind of the Cobra buckle. That's more of like a tactical belt in my mind. So these ones are kind of like crossover belts. You know, you can really see, you can get away with either of these in probably dress clothes, casual clothes, full-on dress, or you could even throw this on with tactical pants and go have a good day on the range because it's thick enough, it's rigid enough, and it's going to stay tight on your body. Really depends on what you want to do with it. Now, like I showed you up close, the mechanism here on the back, that infinite adjustment system on both of these is pretty cool because, you know, you go out, you know, lunch with your buddies, you have that big lunch, give that button a whack, you can loosen it up a little bit and not be so uncomfortable because you ate so much at the buffet that you can barely breathe. You know, but then also as you lose weight or if you're getting in shape or getting back in shape, you're gonna have the ability to really just kind of taper these belts into what you're doing, getting your body back to where you want it to be, or even maybe if you're putting on a little bit of weight, you got a little tactical tummy going on, you've got that infinite adjustment system, as long as you've left a little bit of room there for expansion, if that be the case. Or, you know, if you're not going to get big again, then you just go ahead and keep it nice and short. Now, the buckles, that's always been a big concern of the thickness of the buckles. And like I showed you guys up front, the buckles on this are pretty dang thin as compared to some, maybe a little thicker than others. They're probably right about the thickness of a Cobra belt in all. One of the kind of like Blue Alpha style Cobra buckles. There are some of those Cobra buckles that get massively thick and are meant for rappelling and stuff. So the thickness of the belt and the buckles on these, I did not find to be an issue. Now, technically the dress one is not meant to be a gun belt, but it is thick enough and rigid enough, and I felt comfortable enough wearing this as a gun belt, and it was solid. It worked out just as what I would expect. But like you saw up close, the actual gun belt is not much thicker, but it's extremely rigid due to the material they use. So I was kind of impressed with both of these belts. Especially after having concerns like I showed up close, you know, kind of how you cut and then you lock in the back. Now, I've had belts like that over the years that just did not work out. So that was my main concern, that and the locking mechanism on them. But as you could see, you know, I can crank on this with everything I have, and that locking mechanism is not giving out. So pretty cool design. It's really rigid, and it can take a beating. And, you know, like some other belts, maybe a little bit thicker, maybe a little bit more rigid, but this is kind of that bridge the gap happy median. And they were cool enough to actually issue a coupon code for the channel. So you can go to Core Essentials and load your cart up with whatever you want. And then you can put in code TC10 and it will give you 10% off your entire order. Now, along with this belt, they have some different things. You can order different style buckles. You can do pretty much whatever you want. One of the things that I wanted, where is it? Right here. So if you're like me and you've got a lot of gear and you're accumulating things, but you have dress clothes, you have all this stuff in your closet, you know, management, where do you put everything? Or you just throwing things in corners, and space comes at a premium, right? Especially in a house or a gun safe. So they had these little retainers. You just put them over your clothing hanger and you just lock the belt in just like that. So pretty dang cool. And then when you need it, you just pull it off. So it's kind of a space-saving design, a storage design all in one. And that was pretty dang cool. So I really like the fact that they sent me that, because there's like stuff like falling out of all of my closets in my gun safe when I open them at this point. I gotta start getting rid of stuff for some odd reason. So I really hope you guys like the information here. I'm definitely gonna do, probably in the next month or so, once I've got a little bit more time in this, kind of like a comparison. And I really wanna compare the Blue Alpha Cobra buckle, the hybrid one, the Core Essentials, the Blue Alpha Cinturon, and then just kind of a normal belt from a store, which is probably the least optimal option. Now, are you gonna pay more for a belt like this? Yes. The way I look at it is, buy once, cry once, what's your life worth? And I kind of use that term a lot, what's your life worth, because you wanna buy the appropriate gear for you, what's gonna work, what you can afford. Doesn't always have to be the best, you don't always wanna buy the cheapest. You wanna kind of find some middle ground somewhere on most of the things that you're gonna buy. Because if you're carrying a gun, you really got to take it seriously. And I think you got to take it seriously in more aspects than just the weapon safety, although that is the most serious part of it. But you have to take seriously the equipment that you're using while you are carrying that gun or firearm or whatever you're carrying out there. Because just because you're carrying it and you're being safe in how you deploy it, doesn't mean that everything else going on is, up to snuff or up to par. Because I see some really weird stuff, and I know you guys do too. Look at the people of Walmart, where people are like, using old boot straps for holsters and stuff. I mean, there's just crazy stuff out there, and don't be that guy. Always be safe. And remember, gear is part of being safe. So if you guys are interested in anything in the video, I will leave links down below for you. I will have that coupon code out there for you. Saves you 10%. That's pretty nice of the guys over at Core Essentials to do that. Anything else you saw in the video, if it's 2A related, you got to check that first link in the description. It'll take you to a page where all the 2A stuff is, or you can go to my homepage, tacticalconsiderations.com. And if you guys like getting this information and getting these unbiased reviews, hit that subscribe button for me. If you put one downrange, you hit that bell icon down there, you'll get the notifications right when the videos come out. And I'd appreciate that, because you guys help me grow the audience. comments and everything like that do the channel a lot of good. And if you're looking for a different way to support me, I did start a TriStar. That link is down below. And that just helps me work with more companies and more vendors to get more stuff, to give you guys those unbiased reviews, so you guys can hopefully make a decision and hopefully get some money off if they're willing to give a coupon code out there on anything you may be interested in. So give these guys a look. I think you might be in the market for something like this. Might be a good product to look at. Get out there, have some fun on the range, guys. I will see you all on the next one.